everybody?
What up, what up, what up?
My name is Tim Daniel. His name is Ben Brown. And welcome to this week's edition of Late Night Reds. We are part of the Riverfront Network and the Blue Wire Podcast Network, where you can check us out each and every Sunday night live and then Monday on your podcast feed, along with the other fantastic shows on the Riverfront, including the Riverfront Red Show and Red Leg Roundtable, who just had the legend Hall of Famer Marty Brenneman on last week. It was a very good episode. I really liked it. But Ben, before we get to this, because I was about to start the show before we got into all the other business stuff I have to do, of course. First, I want to say what's up, everybody, for hanging out in the chat tonight. Obviously, this wouldn't be possible without you all chilling with us. And of course, our lovely subscribers at patreon.com/Cincy. If you're not a member, now's the time. A couple bucks a month. And don't forget, July 5th, 12 o'clock. July 6th, 12 o'clock. July 6th. Smoke Justice, live show for Reds Tigers. Come hang out, have some delicious bourbon, eat some delicious food with us. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're very much looking forward to it. So with that being said, Benny, you
what up?
Had the week off last week?
Yeah, man. I was a traveling fool.
You were. Life of a dad of athletes.
Yeah.
Have you recovered?
Yeah, man. We actually, it's good. You know, we did that whirlwind tour of. I mean, if you've ever done the tour of Toledo, Columbus to Morgantown, you know,
I think you're the only one who's done that.
Yeah, I mean, it's an adventure. But yeah, it was cool, man. A lot of good stuff. So, but happy to be back. Happy to be hanging out. Happy to be celebrating our Reds playing well. Hey, everybody! It's good to see everybody.
You were missed. Jeez.
Great to see everybody on, man. It's like you said, it makes the show even more special when everybody's joining us in the chat and everybody's back at it. So it's good to go.
It is, my friend. And man, you came back at a good time because the ball club's playing well.
Yes, they
so
are.
We're going to recap a little bit. We're going to recap the Cubs series. We're going to talk about a few guys' different performances, kind of get your thoughts. And then at about 9:30, we're going to be joined by our good friend Quincy Wheeler of Guardians Fancast. He's going to come on here and kind of preview the Guardians with us and explain to us why they've been so really awesomely good.
Gosh, they're good.
I looked at their run differential today and I went, huh?
Yeah, dude, they're good.
They're really good. They're fun.
They score runs in bunches. They're fun. Yeah, they're fun.
Yeah, they're a really fun team, man. Obviously, Jose Ramirez rules. So
yeah,
can't wait to get Quincy's insight on that as well. And we'll kind of go through that. But let's go ahead real quick. Let's touch on the Cubs series. Obviously, a 4-game set this past week at GABP. Let's first start with Ellie De La Cruz hitting a homer that falls into a beer.
Yes.
And gets a Cubs fan. It wasn't a Cubs fan's beer, but the Cubs fan went home with that beer all over them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then you got another nice Hunter Green outing. I wouldn't say bounce back because I don't think he was really terrible in the Wrigley Cubs game, but was better in this game for sure.
Yeah.
So that was nice. Friday, you get 6 really, really nice innings from Nick Lodolo. Man, he was great.
Hey, just side note on that, like he's got to be an all-star contention, right? Like, dude, he's been freaking incredible.
Yeah,
he's had one bad outing. Like he's been so good.
He might not get the nod just because of how many starts he's missed, but how he is pitching, I completely agree with you.
Yeah,
he's been
incredible.
And then Saturday, man, Candelario and Friedel make other Ben Brown struggle a little bit.
Yes, they did.
As they handled business. They were down to start the game. Andrew Abbott battled. He wasn't great, but I was really impressed with how he handled himself. Didn't have his best stuff. And then Justin Wilson getting his first save since 2019, I believe, when he was a member of the Cubs.
That's legit.
Yeah. And then Sunday today, if you're watching live, Frankie Montas only goes an inning and a third, which is really disappointing, especially after how well he pitched in that Rockies game. And then Carson Spires today
he was incredible.
Everything you would want a reliever to do in that circumstance. He was
Mhm.
fantastic. And then, of course, Hector Neris made the ninth inning go on far longer than necessary. It's kind of lame, actually.
Yeah.
So, dude, let's go real quick because the ground that they've made up
Hmm.
now between the sweep of the Dodgers, I know they lose 2-3 to the Cardinals, but then these two Cubs series and the Rockies series, which we're going to dive into here in a second, the difference between May and June. But watching what's going on here, man, and just how important this series was to see them
Hmm.
rise to the occasion, to see them win these games. They could have
Hmm.
won today. I mean, I know,
Yeah.
you
I
give up
mean,
in the
listen.
first inning, but
Yeah, absolutely. You give up 4 runs in the first inning, and you get quality pitching from your relief guys, and you're still in it. Like you're still in it, even though you were down early.
yeah, absolutely, man. I think, like I said, we're going to do a couple things there, but just a great series for the Redlegs at home, handling business. You got two really tough series this week between the two with Cleveland and we go to Milwaukee, who,
Hmm.
look, let's be honest, you've struggled against for a
Hmm.
while now. Not, so a chance to really kind of, they push Hunter Green back to Friday, so he's not pitching
Okay.
on Tuesday anymore.
Okay.
Tuesday has not been announced just yet. I don't know if anyone sees it pop up on Twitter, please let us know, and it'll be too late to put in the slide, but we'll make sure we mention it. But man, just awesome, just exactly what
Yeah.
this team needed. A big division series win, two series wins because they had the series at Wrigley as well.
Hmm.
Just awesome, man. Just fan freaking tastic.
Yeah, the cool thing about it is that the things, and I know we're going to discuss this later on in the slideshow and the show, but the thing that I've noticed the most, and it's been really cool to see, is that the dudes that are dudes are starting to play like dudes. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
when we were losing in May, like India wasn't India, Ellie wasn't Ellie. Candelario, we were like, dude, what are we gonna do with this? Like, we were having this conversation, like, what are we gonna do with
We're like,
Candelario?
is
Because
this
like we
Will
paid,
Myers again? Yeah.
yeah, like we paid him all this money and he's not hitting the baseball at all. Like, we're having these type discussions. We had Friedel hurt. We had, you have all these things going on, and it's like now you're starting to see the benefit. What's up, Pat? I gotta say what's up, Pat, before I make my point. Pat, OG. Um, but you had all these negatives going on, and then you get to the Rocky series, and we start hitting the baseball. I'll say this: our pitching, our starters, our relievers, dude, they have carried us a lot this season, and it finally took us getting hot at the plate to be able to catch up with all the things that we've been able to do pitching wise. I can't say, I mean, of course, outside of outings here and there, like Frankie Montas was dog water today, but the rest of it though, like we've pitched our way and kept our way into games multiple times where the bats just weren't going.
Yeah.
So for us to come in, and that Rockies series is huge. You go out and you do what you're supposed to do to the Rockies, which is what we expect. And then you get the Cubs series, and then you get the Cubs back here. These are divisional games where you're trying to make up ground, and we get quality pitching, we get timely hitting, we score runs, we're aggressive on the base pads, we're playing with confidence. Like it felt like the team had turned the corner, and it was cool to see where all these guys are starting. Like I said, India started hitting like India. Ellie's trying to find his rhythm. Candelario, we're finally like, man, this is the guy we paid all this money for to be able to hit home runs and timely hits. Freaking Friedel's looking. Spencer Steer's coming out of his slump a little bit. Dude, Spencer Steer is starting to become Spencer Steer again, where he's getting timely hits and driving in runs. So
Yeah.
all of our guys in our lineup are starting to crank back up again. And as long as our pitching continues to stay the way it is, we're going to be all right. I know last month, I mean, it was the dog days. I mean, we were, ooh,
Oh yeah.
but it is starting to crank back up to where the guys that we're expecting to play like dogs are starting to play like dogs. And that's what you need when you're trying to make a run. Now, like you said, we've got two back-to-back series against some really good baseball teams. So we got to make sure that we continue to do that. Shout out to Hunter Green, who's continued to give us quality start after quality start. Nick Lodolo, who's been solid. Abbott, who was solid. Like we've had some. Frankie Montas was solid, not today, but he had been solid during this run. All these guys and our relievers have been solid. So we've gotten it on the pitching end, and it's always been the opposite, right? Like we've always been able to score runs, but we would give up 8 or 9 runs. But now we've got the pitching to go with the hitting. So hopefully we start to get some consistency and start putting some wins together like we have, and keep the train rolling.
So I do want to follow up on your points, but Pat dropped the ultimate dad joke in the chat.
Uh-oh.
Where do you go for a peekaboo accident?
Uh-oh. I have no idea.
The ICU.
I like it, Pat. Hey, Pat's gonna need a dad joke of the week.
Yes,
he's got to have one every week, and we got to post it.
Yeah, because Ben and I are dads, so we have to hear them. So it's only fitting.
Yep, absolutely.
So we've got like 14 or 15 comments here that I have to touch on from that.
Oh yeah.
So Sydney did reference it was actually 3 runs in the first inning, and then they gave a fourth in the second. So
okay.
Sounds like someone's going on a technicality here. All right. So and then says Tuesday, it looks like it's going to be a Brent Suter to Nick Martinez game. Sign me up for that. I'm all for it. Those games have been successful this year, so I'm all for doing it again. Really, really love it. So, and then Scott says, did you guys see the comp stats where the guys were playing better during this win streak than last year's 12 win streak? I believe it. I definitely believe it, man. They were doing really well. We got Seth Shaner in the house. What up, Seth? How we doing? So I want to follow up a couple things.
What's up, Seth?
You mentioned, one thing that I want to touch on in regards to all the things you mentioned about this run is they're winning games that they would find a way to not win in April and May. In April, they had a good month.
Yep.
But how many of those games were it like, oh, well, it's 3-2 and they got runners on second and third and there's no out and there's one out and they gave up those runs and that wasn't happening. So look at yesterday, for example. We get a situation, we're going to bring Justin Wilson in to get the last out of the game. And that was, Lucas Sims and Tyler Stevenson bailed him out amazingly.
Yes.
What a catch, man. Just unbelievable.
Yeah. Shout out Ty Steve too, man. Like, and both of us have been big Ty Steve guys. Dude, I know you've mentioned this before, Tim. I cannot be more happier for that guy. I mean,
Same.
Not only is he getting it done at the dish, but dude, he is playing freaking phenomenal defensively. He's playing phenomenal defensively. So big shout out Ty Steve.
Yeah. So we kind of touched on this already. I do want to bring this up just to kind of give you guys, I think it jumps out when you see it in writing, just how big of the difference has been from May to June. Ben kind of touched on what he saw that's really changed there. So we don't have to get too far into it because we do have a guest here in about 15 minutes. But what's changed from May to June? So May, they were 9-18 throughout in the month. They had a 7-game losing streak. They were swept by Baltimore and Arizona. They lost 6 straight series. And a lot of those were, they would win the first game of the series and they would lose the next 2. They had that stretch where they lost 8 straight rubber matches. And during May, they scored 3-point run runs per game. Obviously, they picked up at the end of May, starting with the Dodger series, but it was not pretty. June, so far, 7-2, had the 7-game win streak, sweep the Rockies. They win 4 or 5 games versus the Cubs because the last one was on June 1st. And they have doubled their run total from month to month at 6.2 runs per game. Now, I know that the caveat that someone's going to point out is, but the Reds played the Rockies. You're right. They did. They played the Rockies in Coors. Anything can happen in Coors, man. Anything. I mean, look at that game where they had to have the Spencer Steer home run to take the lead in the 9th, and they had to go, Jonathan India has a grand slam. They very easily could have lost the game. They probably should have lost that game. They pulled it off. So I don't think that, I mean, last I checked, everyone in the major leagues plays everybody now. So,
hey, guess what? Home and away.
The Dodgers got to play the Rockies many times. The Braves got to play the Rockies The Padres got to play the Rockies. So there's you can't, whatever. Like that's going to happen. But I think the biggest thing, obviously, is getting your guys back is step one. Friedel being back, having Lodolo on and making his regular starts. Emilio Pagan's been in and out, but I don't think he's been missed as much as possible. And number two, I think it's just we're gonna point out the fact that guys like Connor Capel and Mike Ford aren't getting a ton of at bats again. So let's just kind of go ahead and make sure we make mention that the roster is getting better. So I like it. Seth says here. Confidence gained by sweeping the Dodgers probably helps them, but guys started hitting out at the plate and collectively they've been able to score more runs. That's fantastic. I love everything about what they're doing right now. So let's keep it on. Do you want to touch on anything on that before we moved on?
No, that's spot on, man. Like it's, it always drives me crazy when people bring up the schedule. It's professional sports. You can't control who you play when you play them.
Right.
And sometimes fate just happens to be fate. Like this Reds team needed that Rockies series. Like it just happened to fell when they needed wins the most. So it's like it is what it is. They did exactly what they were supposed to do to the Rockies because they're the better baseball team, and it got them going. So, you can't fault them for who they play and when they play them or where they play them. Like that's like you said. At some point, the Dodgers will play the Rockies. At some point, the Padres will play the Rockies. Like everybody's going to play the Rockies, so it is what it is. You know what I mean? But yeah, they're playing with a lot of confidence. They're hitting baseballs and they're pitching well. So it's going to lead to a lot of positive things.
I think about that in college football all the time too, and people like try to hold schedules against teams like. Like Ohio State and Notre Dame signed this series in like 2014, and they're just now playing the last 2 years. So. I don't know. I doubt at that time they were thought the teams would be how good they are now. Let's be honest. But yeah, also when it's like, well, you guys scheduled Texas in 2015 for a 2029 game. And it's like, who cares? All right. It's just how things work out. So let's go move on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Seth, who's going to the Red Sox game on June 21st? I think I might have to if Seth Shaner's going to be in town.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So Sydney mentions we play that godforsaken Satan hole city known as Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania next week and St. Louis this month. A lot of divisional games. So it's going to be really fun. Carrie pops in. Done, get her done, or Hercules. Like Hercules? Is that what we're going for there? Can I do the thing from Night Professor?
Yeah. Hercules.
I like it. We're keeping that one, Carrie. We'll give you the trademark. All right, let's get to a couple player performances while we got a few minutes before Quincy joins us. Let's start with Jonathan India. I want to say he's finding his swing, but if you look at the numbers, he's really finding his strut because he is drawing walks, my man. He is a walk machine right now. So, last 30 games, 762 OPS, 376 on base percentage. Wow. He has more walks than RBIs and runs scored right now. 17 walks, 16 RBIs, 15 runs scored, 3 home runs, 2 grand slams, 2 huge grand slams at that. Yes. The Rockies won the other day. That Dodgers won in the City Connect game on that Friday. Just fantastic, man. Just fantastic. So for him, I think it's obvious what's going on with him. He's become so patient. He's working the strike zone really well. We know all this stuff. I don't want to get into what are you seeing from Jonathan that's making like that, why this is working. Yeah. I want to get into this is great because this is a guy who has gone through everything. I co-hosted Locked On Reds this week with Steve. And so I kind of mentioned this already. So if you have caught that, I'm sorry. If you haven't, welcome to my take. We're talking about a guy who, as soon as the season ended last year, it was, okay, he's got to go. On this exact podcast, Ben and I had the conversations. He's got to go. There's not a place for him, right? And then Reds Fest comes around, and the conversation is, David and the front office and I discussed that I'm going to play multiple positions. I'm going to play left field. I'm going to play first base. We're just going to find a way to get my bat in the lineup. Okay, sure. Guess what? Still a lot of trade rumors going on. Yep. It's like, okay, sure. Yep. Then we get through arbitration, signs a 2-year extension. Trade rumors still happening. All right. Season starts. and he slumps really, really bad for a while there. He's drawing walks, but that's all he's doing. He's not making contact. He's, so it's like, all right, well, there we go. So this is why he's got to go, right? This is the reasoning. And then we finally get to, well, Matt McLain's out, and he's got to play second base every day, or else they don't have another option. Santiago Espinal's the other option, who, for some reason, side note, Santiago Espinal has like these terrible numbers, but I feel like he's like this guy that just loves like a runner in scoring position. He finds a way to make something happen there. That's not the point of the conversation here, but my point is about Jonathan India is that I don't know how this works out when the Martes and the McLeans come back, but I don't care because I think this guy really deserves to have this stretch he's had with everything he's had to go through. And so I just wanted to make sure we mentioned like that this is great, and I'm super happy for him.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, I think you mentioned it. We talked about him being traded. There's no room for him. Why would you keep him? Let's move him on. We've got our infield set for the next 10 years with Ellie and McLean. Like we talked about all that. And for him to and that's not just us. I mean, it was everybody in the media. I mean, a lot of the media people were saying the same thing. A lot of the media people were saying, you got to move on. You got to do this. You got to do that. So if we're saying it and the media and a lot of the other media people are saying it, he's got to be hearing that. So to go all off season to go through that, you get re-signed to a place where you think the market doesn't want you there. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, Matt McLain, who is arguably going to be your leader for the year, goes down. So now you're in a spot where you need him, and for him to be able to put all that aside and come in and start to do the job. I mean, he's getting better and better now this year. And in order for him to be able to do that, you've got to set all the BS aside. You know what I mean? And and I think the reason why he can do that is because one, he's a good teammate. I mean, the guys love him.
Yep.
And two, he's playing for his teammates. Everybody knows that when he goes out there, he's going to give it 100%. Everybody knows when he goes out there, he's going to be the vocal leader. He's going to be the guy. So with those two things in mind, it's good to see that he was able to put all the BS from the offseason aside, come in, and now he's hitting a stretch where he's playing really good baseball at a time where we need him to play really good baseball. So like I said, I will deservedly eat crow because I was for one that said that we need to move on and move him out, but he has been valuable in the spot where we needed him because we didn't have Matt McLain. He's a solid second base. He's a leader. He's a guy that the guys rally around. So big up to Jonathan India. Yeah, I got to eat crow, but yeah, I am happy, and I'll eat crow happily because I like him and I'm glad that he's doing well.
Yeah, I think our point all the time of he's got to go was never like we hate this guy who sucks. It was
never malicious. Yeah, right.
Yeah, what are you going to do with them? And Kerry makes the point. Things always find a way to work out in the end. Seth brings up citing Jamer keeping it. It didn't make sense for a long time. It really didn't. Hey, you know who would have been really awesome on this team right now? Nick Senzel. All right, next conversation. Seen those numbers lately? They get prettier and prettier by the day.
Yes, I have.
All right,
As a matter of fact, I was just not to move on. Boy, we're trying to move on, but I just looked at that the other day because he hit a home run. I was like, man, let me see how he's doing. Never mind. Let me put my phone down.
I know. For sure.
All right, moving on.
All right, let's talk about Alexis Diaz because I think that great big picture and all, not a good year. Really disappointing. Really heartbreaking.
Yeah.
5.55 ERA on the year, 13 saves, 18 walks, 27 strikeouts, a 1.52 WHIP. Rough. Last 7 games, much better. So 2.7 ERA, 5 saves, 9 strikeouts, 1.2 WHIP. But that 4 walks is still an issue because it's coming down to if you're watching the performances, you go through the box score, it's often the first or second guy he faces. So he's like I think he's a fan of the tightrope situation. I think he really just enjoys the adrenaline rush of, just like, all right, let's see what happens. Let's get this guy on base and see if I can get myself out of it. It's like a magician that like puts himself in the chains and just tries to see if he can get him out of it. I just watched that episode of Modern Family, so that's why that popped in my head for that reference. But man, so I'm very happy that he has pitched better. His strikeouts are up, but I would not say that I'm pleased with where he's at. And I've made this point a million times. I just got yelled at for this point on Locked On. I've said this point on here a million times. I think it's silly that every single major league team just so happens to only have one guy who can get 3 outs in the ninth. That's stupid. It's a stupid strategy. It's very silly. I understand it takes a special person to get those 3 outs in the ninth. I understand it takes a very special personality. But the fact that I keep seeing this thing every day of, should Fernando Cruz be the closer? Like, there's no closer's a stupid thing. All right. We can have 2 guys who can do this really well. Seth Shaner, right there. Prime example. Red Lake Roundtable had Scott Williamson and Scott Sullivan on the podcast. And remember that 99 bullpen? Those 2 and one other guy were rotating as your closer, and they were awesome. So
the Nasty Boys.
The Nasty Boys. Perfect example. Hell, 2012, Chapman was really the guy, but Sean Marshall and Jonathan Brosky with Chapman, they were awesome. But for Alexis Diaz, obviously, like I said, glad he's pitching better. Not pleased with where he's at. Still a lot of work to do.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. Here's my point to all that, though, is that, like, I am in agreement with you that there should not be a set closer. I think that we have a lot of guys in the bullpen that can go out and get the last 3 outs. So why not?
How do we feel about this?
Yeah,
that's a great point.
I see that. Yeah. I watched it. I mean, I watched him. He struggled to get the save on Saturday night. Like he gave up a walk and a hit or something like that, and like he had to strike out the last guy. But it's like, I mean, I don't know. I don't know why he would want to work that hard, but I don't know. I'm just not under the impression that one guy can do that job. Like you've had that in the past where you've had guys like Mariano Rivera, and those guys are just special. Like those are just special dudes that can go in there and consistently get 3 outs in a row and make it look super easy. But with our bullpen, I think we've got several guys that can go in there and get the last 3 outs. A lot of that stuff to me should be based off of batting averages and percentages. You know what I mean? Like, look where a guy is. What did he bat against so-and-so? Or who can get these 3 outs? Who's got the worst, average versus the guys we've got in the bullpen? How can we, it's got to be more strategy than saying, all right, let's just run Alexis out there. Good, bad, or indifferent. He's our closer. No, we should be enough. There should be enough baseball savantness to be like, okay, what are the guys in the lineup that are coming up in the 9th? Who has the best ERA against those 3 guys or 4 guys? And let's match them up like that. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I agree. I agree with you though. With
I say this, but we're about to bring Quincy on, and he's got Emmanuel Clase, who is just like
I mean, that's. I mean, like I said, those guys are special.
That's a different breed.
Yeah, that's a different breed, man. That's a different breed. But
so
I don't know.
Last thing before I actually bring Quincy on, he looks like he just popped in the queue. Is Ellie back? Last 7 games, 823 OPS, 2 huge homers. Strikeouts are coming down a little bit more. Is he back? Are we doing this again?
Listen, he's always back to me. I don't care how many times.
I'm with you.
I'll never say that he's off. It's kind of like Spencer Steer to me, right? I just think that those guys are too talented, and at some point, sometimes you always got to give the tip of the hat to the pitching staff. Sometimes those guys got their number. You know what I mean? But to me, and Kerry brings up a great point. Ellie's never off to me. I don't know. He had a 4 strikeout game, and those things are going to happen. But to me, he's just too talented of a player. Just he's just off. There are days where he doesn't look the greatest, but I do think that he is still one of the best baseball players in the Major League Baseball just because of his sheer talent and ability. So,
I'm with you.
Is he back? Sure.
Yeah. Hit homers. I don't care if he's back or not. So
yeah, I mean, do what you do, El. You know what I mean? Hit home runs, steal bases, create chaos. You know what I mean? Like, do what you do.
Yeah. So a couple comments before we move on to bring our guest on. So Joey Gaditza, our guy, talks about Carson Spires, how he owned the show. He owned the show today. He was awesome, man.
Yes,
I wish we had more time to talk about it because he was terrific. Also asked any word on where Jabot's at. I don't know. Is he on milk cartons right now? Because I've heard nothing.
No. He's been crickets, man. He's been crickets.
Sydney says, surprised you all didn't talk about Graham Ashcraft being sent down. We talked about it a lot on the Riverfront Red show. I was on with Nate this week, but I think it's the right move. I think give him a chance to get right and figure out from there. Kind of go that route.
No, just to touch on it briefly before we move on, but I think it's the right move. He just did not look right. His last couple starts, 2 or 3 starts, he's not looked like the Graham Ashcraft we saw last year. So, and I don't think it's a bad thing, dude. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think you go down there, work some kinks out, work some things out, and then you bring him back when you're ready.
Yeah. Like Date said, we've seen Bull in the China shop, Graham Ashcraft. Now we're going to see Angry Bull in the China shop, Graham Ashcraft.
Right.
So, yeah. Well, guys, obviously the first set of games this week is our fantastic Ohio Cup. It's Ohio Cup week, and who better to talk about the Ohio Cup than the host of the Guardians Fancast, our good friend coming back for a second time, Quincy Wheeler, who sprouted a mustache.
Oh,
what's up, buddy?
Hey, how's it going?
Welcome to the club, Quincy. Welcome to the club, baby.
Hey, you turn 40, you have your 4th child, and you have to grow a mustache. It's
yes, sir.
That's the rules.
Well, congrats on the 4th child.
Yeah, congrats, man.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, just to be clear, I did not go into labor to deliver the child. I want to emphasize that was my wife's hard work, but
yes,
I have done my part in helping to raise the child.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, man, obviously love having you on to talk about the world famous Battle of Ohio, where this is only decided in 4 games, so that means it's been a tie since 2020. Yes. Literally. Okay, the Reds had a 4-game set with the Giants this year. You couldn't take one of those games off, put an additional Guardians game in there to make this a best of 5 situation. Like, it's the stupidest scheduling. If you want this to be important, these stupid rivalries that baseball is like, we have rivalry week now. And it's like, okay, well, make them matter. Because we all need this prestigious Ohio Cup with former MVP Eugenio Suarez. All right, so.
I mean, obviously, you're speaking tongue-in-cheek just like I would about it. But, yeah, I mean, if I'm forced to think anything about it, it would make sense for it to be 5 games. I'm with you there.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Well, Ben and I are going to pick your brain on this Guardians team because, dude, outside looking in, they're awesome. They're so fun. They're so talented. They win a lot of games. Stephen Vogt leaves like the perfect guy to follow in Terry Francona's footsteps in that role. And, this is a team that lost Shane Bieber. This is a team that had, was like, oh God, how do we come with that? Tristan McKenzie has been really up and down this year and they're still winning games. Josh Naylor has not been the Josh Naylor from last year, but still been good. And obviously Jose Ramirez got off to a really slow start, but is now probably in the AL MVP candidate conversation. So first things first, because I just threw like 90 things at you. What changed? Because this team is really kind of obviously Francona moves on. You get a new voice in there, but everyone loves Francona. We love Francona. We wanted him to be our manager when Dusty left. So for this situation here, like what's the biggest thing that jumped to you to see from last year to this year, where last year they had all those injuries, they missed the playoffs, they now have the number 1 pick, which is hilarious that the Guardians and Reds are the top 2 picks in the draft.
We have to talk about that briefly, I'm sure.
But like just for you and your eyes as someone who watched them on a day-to-day basis, where we kind of just check the box scores on the at-bat app, what was the biggest change in this team in your eyes?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that the managerial change is a pretty big deal in one sense. That not that Tito, like you said, Tito obviously great manager, Hall of Fame manager. We're very blessed to have him here, and he really has made a huge difference with the franchise and the direction of the franchise. But I think Tito, like any, you're welcome for Will Benson. We love Will Benson. Tito, like any good manager, is very loyal to his guys. So there was a little bit of a tough time getting the young guys the plate appearances they needed. Sometimes the matchup stuff wasn't the way it should be. And it appears this season that, either you think about it as Vogt is very much more willing to look at matchup data as far as like left and right splits, those kind of things, even looking at bat path information and making decisions like that than Tito was. And he also is very committed to getting everybody who needs to get at bats. And I think that's made a big difference. And I also, this is kind of like a inside baseball thing, I guess, but I also think that Vogt is very much empowering his assistant coaches to do a lot of work that maybe Tito wasn't like micromanaging, but just kind of giving them a general sense on things that maybe Vogt is saying, hey, like Chris Valaika, you're the hitting coach. Get these guys to, hit the make contact, but make quality contact however you want them to. And that's made a big difference for the offense. So yeah, the offense is in the top. It's been hanging around the top 10 of the league for most of the season. The bullpen's the best bullpen in the league right now. They've got a lot of great arms out in the bullpen, not just Emmanuel Clase, but obviously, like you were saying, as I was waiting around, Clase being back there is a huge deal because it's almost like anytime he's back there, it's like, okay, we'll probably win this game. But they've had a lot of other great arms. So really the only flaw for the team this season has been the starting pitching. It's been tough to get starting pitching because after the Bieber injury, they've been a little bit thin trying to figure all that out. But yeah, I think those are the main things. The bullpen had a tough year last year, and you guys know as baseball fans, bullpens are super volatile. So one season they'll be good, and the next season they'll be not as good, and you won't have any reason why. But they're very good this year so far. So hopefully that continues.
Yeah, absolutely, man. One of the names who's really been getting some action for you guys that Reds fans are obviously familiar with is Ben Lively.
Yeah.
And we love Ben Lively. We feel like Ben Lively got kind of a raw deal last year in circumstances, but has been, correct me if I'm wrong, but looking at the box score, it's been fairly decent. I haven't watched his performances yet, but been a decent surprise for you guys.
Huge. He's been huge.
What's been kind of working for him? Because we love that guy, and we miss him very much at times.
So I did a little bit of a deep dive on him. So yeah, you mentioned Guardians Fancast, but if folks are interested in reading Guardians coverage, they can find stuff that I write on coveringthecorner.com. I'm the site runner there, and so I organize the different blog writers, and we try to do as much analysis as we have time for there. So I did a little bit of a deep dive on Lively and what the Guardians are doing to make things work for him. We have a guy on our site who does some pitching analysis for us too. And one of the things he said is he thought the Guardians might try to work on his extension. So if you look at his extension, he's gone up to like the 95th percentile in the extension this year. So he's he doesn't throw the ball super hard, but the closer you throw the ball not super hard towards the plate, the better it is to deceive pitchers and make the ball look a little more lively. So he's been able to do that. That'll be my one Lively joke for today. But the other thing that Lively does very well, as you guys may know, is he throws 6 different pitches. None of them are amazing, but all of them are either average or above average. So one of the things that if you look and see things that the Guardians have done maybe to like take it to the next level where it was with the Reds, they've really made it to the point where a hitter could expect any one of those 6 pitches at any given time. And they've really worked to try to tunnel, so that I have to look back and see, but like, so your fastball and changeup are coming from the same arm slot, your slider and your curveball are coming from the same arm slot. So you can't tell which pitch you should expect at any given time. And so I think that helps his stuff play up for the Guardians. It's very similar to what the Guardians did with Aaron Savale, who they traded to the Rays for Kyle Manzardo. Savale again could throw 6 pitches. However, the only thing is Savale's curveball was dominant. So it'll be interesting to me to see if they can help Lively get to one pitch that might be kind of a strikeout pitch. Because if that happens, then you'll be looking at a guy who could be like a number 2 starter. I don't know if they'll be able to get there, but right now he's like a great number 3 starter that you love to see every week go out there. So thank you, Reds, for introducing us to. But I think you're right about the Raw deal last year, because I know everybody was like, "Wow, look at his numbers. He was terrible for the Reds." And most of us who looked at the game logs were like, "No, they hung him out to dry against the Cubs, and he gave up 13 runs. Other than that,
and then put him on the IL the next day.
And then put him on the IL the next day. Sure did.
Yeah. Well, and he, but other than that, he was all right. I mean, not great, but all right. And you're like, yeah, there's probably something to work with here. So it's kind of the Guardians version of Eric Fetty for the White Sox. The Lively's just been one of those guys they've found something in. So yeah, it's been crucial.
I'm going to back up something real quick you said in regards to Aaron Savale for Kyle Manzardo. You guys should have won front office of the year for that alone. I don't know if people really understand how good Kyle Manzardo is, but I just want to say that it's not fair. You guys got him, and it'll also be awesome because he's going to be unfreaking believable as he figures out Major League pitching.
Yeah, I feel very good about him too. It's funny that you say that people need to realize how good he is, because a lot of Guardians fans still need to realize how good he is. But yeah, I mean, right now he's got to the point where he's consistently hitting doubles, like at least every other game he's hitting a double. So that's great. But I mean, if you look at his minor league data, the guy pulled fly balls all the time. So once he gets his timing down, he's going to start hitting some homers, and he'll be great to have. And yeah, I think our great beat writer here for The Athletic, Zach Meisel, he put a little note in one of his columns that there were some Tampa Bay Rays scouts talking to him, telling the team had, buyer's remorse about that deal. And
I believe it.
If that's true from the Rays, I mean, that's a great sign for the Guardians, because the Rays never lose a trade. Pretty well, they do, but most of the time they win a trade. So that was good to see.
They kind of lost that life for a long time with that contract they gave a certain shortstop who won't be playing baseball again. So.
Oh, geez. Yeah, not on them, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I can't tell how. Probably can't really predict that, at least I would say.
Yeah. Ben, do you have anything you wanted to touch with our guest on?
Yeah, dude, I just wanted to talk about, we were talking about this before we got together with you, Quincy. Dude, you guys score runs in bunches. Like, your run differential is freaking crazy. And I won't say, I mean, you've got a few guys in that lineup. Who in that lineup to you has been the biggest surprise, or the biggest, like, yeah, this guy's really gotten it going for us when we weren't expecting that from him in the lineup that you got now?
Well, I think your choice there would have to be David Fry. David Fry has been, for a while he was like Barry Bonds level. Like every time he was out there,
he's like 46 in baseball years. Like
the one thing I hope I hope that no Reds like managerial staff is listening as I say this. But the one thing you want to make sure is that David Fry isn't coming up when you have a left-handed reliever who has to get through 3 batters, because the man is money against left-handed relievers specifically. Like, it might take him 3 at-bats in a game to figure out a left-handed starter. You'll notice, like, the first 2 at-bats, maybe he'll ground out or strike out. But then by the 3rd at-bat, he usually has a pretty good lineup. But for some reason, like, he sees a left-handed reliever. He's just – I was at a game with my 5-year-old son the other day. No, it was my 4-year-old son, and we were at the game, and David Fry was coming up with a lefty on the mound. I was like, "Hey, watch this! He's going to hit a home run." And first pitch, he hit it out. Like that's how he's been lately. So that's a big thing for us. I mean, he'll cool down. He's cooled down a little bit right now, but the thing, if you look out there, you see that Dan Zimborski from Fangraphs, he pointed out that David Fry's projections from the beginning of the season to now for the future have gone up like 30%. And that's because the whole systems, he's like, this is weird, but the systems say what he's doing is fairly sustainable. And that's because, again, he's a guy who pulls fly balls in the air. He doesn't really chase pitches. So it's not like this 28-year-old guy is going to win MVP, but it does look like he's going to be a pretty solid presence in the middle of the lineup who can play catcher, right field, left field, first base, third base in a pinch. that's a real valuable player to have and be above average
Absolutely.
apparently at all those positions. So that's been big. And obviously, like you guys mentioned, Jose Ramirez is just an absolute angel.
He's
just
a
we're just so blessed to have him, and he's just so much fun to watch all the time. And he's been on a tear, and I love how like all around baseball, unless you're like an AL Central team, probably you listen to all these other podcasts and they're like, oh, maybe Jose will win MVP this year. That'd be great, because I think everybody around baseball recognizes what a great person and player he is, and it'd be great for him to get that recognition. But for me, whether he wins the MVP or not, if he can do something like what he's doing right now, he's going to put up another 6 or 7 win season. And that's going to put him well on pace to make the Hall of Fame. And that's going to be really special. So
Jose Ramirez and Joey Votto getting inducted the same year. Let's go.
That's right. Let's do it.
Carrie asked, what's the run differential between the two teams? The Guardians have a plus 75 run advantage on the Reds right now. I just want to make sure that is mentioned. Both teams are positive in the run differential, which is great.
Yeah,
it's just a very different positive between Cleveland and Cincinnati right now.
Oh yeah,
and run differential is important, but it probably doesn't mean a ton until August. When you look at run differential in August, then you can probably tell pretty well who's going to do something or not, as far as make the playoffs at least.
Yeah, for sure. So you mentioned it. Obviously, both the Ohio teams are one that both had the best lottery possible, as going odds of picks of 1 and 2. So I'm sure you've been watching the two guys particular, like we have, very, very closely in Bazana and Condon. So what are your thoughts? Who are you guys going to let drop in the Reds' lap with that? Because it's a win-win for both teams.
It is. What I was really going to say is, who do you want to have laying in your lap? Because that's what I want the Guardians to pick.
Probably, dude. Like I lean towards Condon, but I'm not sad if Bazana drops there.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. So I guess it's weird that I have not heard a single rumor connecting the Guardians to Condon. So I think if you like Condon, it probably seems like you're fairly safe. I've heard several people say the Guardians love Bazana. He's definitely like a Guardians type, makes contact, but good contact, dominated in the Cape. They absolutely love guys that dominate in the Cape. Won Cape Cod MVP, so can't go wrong there. Can play up the middle on the right side of the infield at least. So all those things kind of make it seem like it's going to be Bazana. I don't know. There's been talk about whether the Guardians, if Bazana doesn't want to come in at the number they want, will go under slot. I would be surprised by that. The only thing that strikes me is if the Guardians were convinced that J.J. Weatherholt's hamstring is not going to be an issue in the future, which I'm not really sure how they would be, but I do think he's kind of Travis Bazana light. So I could see like a situation where they're like, okay, we really want to, spend a lot on the 36 pick and get a pretty great player, maybe like a prep pitcher that they absolutely love, that they could convince to come out and not go to college and come to them, that they have their eye on at 36. Maybe they surprise everybody and go under slot with J.J. Weatherholt and go there. Those are the two things on my mind. And it's also that the Guardians front office doesn't let much slip at all. So who knows? Maybe they're in on Condon too. I know you guys, I'm sure, are aware of the different SEC cheating allegations that are swirling around the SEC. So.
The SEC? That SEC?
What? Really? Really?
And in baseball at least, I don't know about other stuff. But the other thing that beyond that, I did find it interesting reading about the jump in home runs and teams pointing out that some guys are using non-regulation bats. And I don't know if I was reading too much into that article, but there seemed to be like some indication that some of the teams with the top picks are not necessarily viewing the guys dominating the way that the rest of the baseball is. So I don't know if that's Condon or Caglione. I'm not sure, but those are things I kind of keep in the back of my mind.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So we got a couple fan questions in the chat. This one's very important because it's from our friend Joey Gaditza. Joey is north of the border. He is a very proud Canadian. So he asked me, how are you guys enjoying the two good Canucks on the roster?
Joe, is he talking about the Guardians, right?
Yeah.
Joey, I have news for you, buddy. There are 3 Canucks on the roster.
Oh,
Cade Smith is a reliever for us. He's a dominant reliever, very fun to watch. He is also Canadian, and we love all of our Canucks. They are great. All of them are outstanding citizens. No fan who interacts with them ever has anything bad to say. They go out of their way to interact with everybody. I guess I should say that some of the Guardians fans are a little bit done with Bo Naylor right now. At least they want to send him down to the minors, which, if they send him to the minors, it's not the end of the world. He's struggling to hit right now, framing really well. He's best framer in baseball right now, but struggling to hit. He's 24 years old, so it's not surprising. Barely 24 years old, so not surprising that you'd struggle a little bit in the majors as you're figuring things out as a catcher. So it's possible that he might see some time in the minors, but I'm not really concerned. He just needs to kind of iron out some issues with his swing, and he'll be back to where he was. So that's about it. Everybody loves Josh Naylor, as they should. Everybody loves Cade Smith, who's dominant. You guys will probably see him at some point and be like, "Oh, who the heck is this?" Oh yeah, Quincy said he's Canadian. Oh dang, he throws 98 miles an hour.
well, we have the greatest Canadian player of all time. So
true. No argument from me. No argument from me. Yeah. We love Joey Votto in Cleveland, at least everybody that I know.
I really wanted him to sign there when he wasn't going to go back to Cincinnati. I really did.
You can find a tweet from me where I said they should just sign him for the vibes, because they were just basically going for – when you sign Austin Hedges, you kind of say that's what you care about the most is Austin Hedges. I should probably mention that, if you asked the team what they were missing last year, they would say Austin Hedges. So Austin Hedges coming back may be a big thing as well. I know Stephen Kwan said that he makes things so much easier in the clubhouse because it's impossible to do anything stupider than what he'll do. Like, is he just kind of like that he'll just say or do something completely stupid and everybody will just relax about things. And, do you want to roster the worst hitter in Major League Baseball because he's an incredible vibes guy? Well, he better be an incredible vibes guy. Up in your record, and it seems like it has. I mean, he's obviously, you guys know Austin Hedges enough to know that he's a catching savant. Like, he's incredible at catching. He just can't hit the broadside of a barn.
Dude, I mean, we went through that with you guys had him too, but like Luke Maley has gotten to the point where now he only has about 90 plate appearances on the year because thankfully Tyler Stevenson has stuff together.
Tyler Stevenson's back to being Tyler Stevenson. I saw, I saw that. I looked at that. I saw Maley still has a 89 WRC plus against left-handed pitching, so that's something to hang out.
He hit a homer today off Imanaga.
Yep.
There you go. Start him against lefties and just deal with the rest. He's a good defender too. So yeah, we like Luke Maley too. Glad you guys got him.
Yeah, he's a local kid too. So he's from like
awesome. Yeah, he was great here.
So Sydney Price, one of our regulars, asked too. She kind of asked this earlier, so I didn't want her to think I ignored her. But she kind of reiterated the question. So what is going on in the outfield? Floral's gone, Straw's down, and Laureano's gone too. So what is going on with the outfield with multiple guys out?
Yeah, you mentioned Straw. Another thing that changed with the team is the front office being willing to send Straw to AAA and to cut him up to DFA him essentially. That's a big thing because Straw was the worst qualified hitter over 2 straight seasons, and we were wondering whether they were going to try to keep rostering him. And it turns out that you can't really have Miles Straw and Austin Hedges on your bench, so he's in Columbus right now. Yeah, you can't really have 2 guys that are that bad at hitting on your bench. So, and right now, I mean, they have Bo Naylor and Austin Hedges on their bench a lot of times. So I guess that because Bo Naylor's been about that rate too. So anyway, Tyler Freeman moved from the infield to center field, and he's been doing very well. I mean, his numbers on outs above average don't look great yet, but I think that's just a function of him figuring out the position. He makes all the plays he wanted to make, and he's been like a league average hitter. Hit a big 3-run homer today. So yeah, he's been good. He's been fine. Stephen Kwan, he was injured for a bit, but every time that he's been healthy, he's been amazing. Basically, if he stays healthy the rest of the season, hopefully, God willing, he'll probably win a batting title if he can get back to the qualified part of it. And the thing is, he also takes walks, as you know. So, and he clubbed a homer the other day. He's trying to do that fly ball thing where he can. He doesn't really hit the ball hard, but he makes good contact on the barrel as he doesn't hit it hard, and that can sometimes help you out. So basically 2 of the 3 outfield positions are in good shape, and then it's that third one that the Guardians can't quite figure out. Right now, if Bo Naylor was hitting, David Fry would probably be the everyday right fielder. But I think in the series, you guys may see Daniel Schneemann in right field, who again is a David Fry type, a guy who has broke out at the age of 27. And it's kind of like, is that real or not? But dang, everything he hits hard. He hits hard, and he can play anywhere on the diamond, like literally anywhere on the diamond except catcher and pitcher. Well, I don't know, maybe he can pitch. I don't know, but he can play anywhere else on the diamond. So he's going to play in some in right field. And Will Brennan, who the Guardians chose over Will Benson, unfortunately for us. I mean, Brennan, again, great guy. Benson, both of them amazing personalities and people. So nothing against that, but batting-wise, I'd rather have Will Benson. But Will Brennan is a good defender, and you'll see him against right-handers. Florial ended up in Columbus. I'm trying to think. That's mostly what's going on there right now.
Yeah. Kerry asked, I can kind of help. Kerry Reiner said, "Can Homer splash in the Lake Erie?" So I'm guessing Kerry's never been to Progressive. It's more likely it's going to land if it does somehow leave the stadium over that giant scoreboard in left field. It's more likely. What would you say? It's more likely like in parking lots that would end up in.
Yeah. You would have to hit the ball a long way foul to get to Lake Erie, and by a long way I mean like probably a mile. But yeah, it would be foul. It would be foul off to the third base side to get to Lake Erie. So yep. No, that'd be great if we had to set up like the Pirates or the Giants, but nope, no balls splashing into the lake.
Yeah, the Browns have a better chance of Deshaun Watson throwing a ball into the lake than, which could very well happen the way he's played.
Yeah, seems like it. Yeah. Unfortunately, I muted the word Watson on Twitter for obvious
reasons.
Good for
you. Yeah.
And then the Guardians, because I don't really want to think about it, but the Guardians traded for Khalil Watson, so I had to unmute it.
Unmute it?
I forgot about that.
Yeah. So anyway, let's not talk about the Browns better. But they do have some great guys on the team. Deshaun Watson's definitely not one of them, but the rest of the guys on the Browns team is.
Right. Well, this question
don't send your hate mail to Late Night Reds, guys. Send it to me. I'll take it. It's fine.
This question's actually for me. This is really important. So I was recently in your beautiful city of Cleveland, Ohio. I will stand by anyone who gives Cleveland crap has never been to Detroit or Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh's pretty, man. It's a pretty city. It's impossible to drive in.
Now that is a fact. It is
Pittsburgh is horrible driving. Like that's I avoid going to Pittsburgh just because of the driving. But continue, Tim. Yes.
So I was up for Game 4 of the Cavs and Celtics at the Q. I still forever will call it the Q. And I've been saying since I've left that I think like I've become a converted member of the Cavs army. I feel like they're my team now. I know it's a really interesting off season, but I mean, I loved LeBron obviously there. So I had a lot of gear already in the closet ready to go. I had some artillery. So I feel like as a Clevelander, I have to be able to earn this purpose to say that I am now a full-time Cavs fan. If I have a Clevelander, give me consent to say I am a full-time Cavs fan. So do I have your consent as a Clevelander?
Oh, of course. I mean, what's your other option? Grizzlies? Like, what else would you do?
I had to look at where we're blacked out from. The Pacers, the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
I grew up a Bulls fan, but, that franchise doesn't care about winning. So,
no, that's a terrible franchise outside of Michael Jordan years. So just hold on to those. Yeah, come on over, man. Yeah, the water is fine. Join us as a Cavs fan.
The waters of Lake Erie.
Hopefully, I can find the Stephen Vogt version of the coach for the Cavs, and we'll be in good shape.
Is like bathing in the waters of Lake Erie. Is that like Purple Rain with Lake Minnetonka? Is it the same thing?
I've swam in Lake Erie quite a bit in my life. I don't know if it was wise. It might explain a few things about why I forget my keys in certain spots, but I can't say.
So I think maybe us three, maybe two other people in our chat probably got that joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Carrie asked, how many Cincy Cleveland fans visit the opposing ball games? I think a lot, really. So I did my first Reds Guardians game last year in Cleveland, and
Nice.
there was a lot of fans there. I had a really great time. It's an awesome stadium for someone who hasn't been before. I still refer to it as the Jake because I am nostalgic, and I just think about watching Jim Tomei on TV crushing homers there.
Oh yeah.
And obviously Ben and I are from Northern Kentucky, so any place that David Justice played, we have a soft spot in our heart for.
Absolutely.
Oh, I love David Justice. Yeah.
But yeah, I think like even here, so if you go to one of the Tuesday or Wednesday games, which I know a lot of people will be at Wednesday because it's Ellie De La Cruz bobblehead night, but Cleveland has a lot of fans come down too here, and it's cool. Like it's polar opposite of a Bengals Browns game, which it's like everyone here's like, hey, how you doing? You made the trip, but you have a good time. Bengals Browns game, it's like, do not bring your child around or I will slap them if this game's close. Like, calm down, guys. It's not that serious.
It's fun. It's a fun rivalry with the Reds because if we lose all 4 games to the Reds this season, it really won't have much impact at all on the division race. The Reds lose all 4 to us and won't have that much of an impact on your wild card division race. Like it's not that big of a deal. You want to win and it's fun. You can have a little back and forth here and there, but yeah, I mean, I always feel good about the Reds. I think probably I would guess if we like talk to people who'd been Reds and Indians Guardians fans for a while, probably would have been back when Pete Rose destroyed Ray Fosse would be the last time that the teams that the Cleveland Indians really hated the Reds. So it was really just about Pete Rose. So
right. We feel that way too. Don't worry.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm sure you do for a variety of reasons. But the old heads that I know would say like, oh yeah, Pete Rose, rah rah rah, whenever you talk about the Reds. But the rest of us are like, oh yeah, the Reds, yeah, awesome.
Yeah, we aren't over here like, how dare you jerks take Dave Burba from us?
I was thinking about this, Tim. I'm glad you said that because I was thinking this is probably one of the first seasons in a while where don't really have much interest in talking Guardians Reds trades because they're kind of in similar circumstances of like both of them should be in a playoff chase the whole season long. Both of them are like young up and coming teams. So they're probably not a lot of fits there, which probably means they'll make like 3 trades. But yeah, I'm just saying, it doesn't really seem like there should be.
Yeah, I was wondering if they would be a Jonathan India team when we were talking about him being traded, but now he's played really well. So I think with all the injuries they've had too, it's been the big conversation today. Is like they really need him,
and he's a vibes guy for you, I know. So that's I mean, people have to keep in mind how the clubhouses work, and there are certain guys you can't take out of a clubhouse without there being some significant effects. So,
yeah, absolutely. Well, dude, always love getting the chance to talk with you. Thanks again for coming back on the show. For our listeners and any Reds fans who want to interact with you during the series, both series, even though they're months apart, give a shout out where people can find you on socials and chat with you, and also where people can listen to the show, because I think it's a really good podcast, even as someone who I guess I can say it's like Cleveland's my adopted second city now because of my wife's family. And now I'm a Cavs fan full time. It's official. You guys all heard it, all of you on the show. So where can people follow along with Quincy's with the Guardians Fancast and also covering the corner?
Thank you, Tim. Yes, I know Tim and Ben, you guys and I, we could talk all night about baseball, I'm sure. And it's always great to come on with you. So thank you very much. So if you want to follow what I'm doing, Guardians Fancast, I usually do that once a week nowadays. I do it with friends. We kind of get together one night a week and just talk Guardians ball. And then I sometimes will do interviews with Guardians fans and getting to know people and their experiences of Guardians baseball. And then I also have another podcast called Disgusting Baseball, which I took over from Covering the Corner, had this podcast for a while. So if you look at Disgusting Baseball, that's where we do more analysis. So if you're interested in kind of the analysis of the Guardians team, those are good ones to listen to leading up to the series. Ironically, I missed last week is the first episode I missed all week, but got away from me last week. But you can listen up to there if you're a Reds fan. You're like, I want to hear what's going on with this team. Disgusting Baseball will give you a good sense of that. And then you can follow writings that I am able to do on coveringthecorner.com. That's a great place from Vox, Sports Nation, blogs. If you have a Sports Nation account and you want to hop in and talk to Guardians fans, the forums that we have in Covering the Corner are great. We have a great group of guys there and girls. I mean guys in the Indiana sense, like just anybody's there, ladies and gentlemen, and they all have a great time talking about the games. And we often have fans from other teams come, not trolls, but just wanting to talk about baseball and talk about their experience. So we'd welcome any Reds fans who want to talk about it during the series to stop at coveringthecorner.com.
Excellent. Well, perfect, man. Thank you again so much. And on
Thanks,
that
Quincy,
note,
man.
we're going to wrap up this week's edition of Late Night Reds here on the Riverfront. On behalf of Ben Brown, this is Tim Daniel. Have a good night, and we will see you all next week.